for joining us on another edition of the In the Game interview series. Today we've got Josie Rix, assistant from Samford University. Thanks for joining us, Josie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Why don't you give us some of your background, your playing experience, and what your coaching journey's been like so far?
Yeah, so grew up pretty much, I claim Chattanooga, Tennessee as hometown. Grew up playing around the Southeast, traveled to Knoxville, played out of there for a while as a kid. Traveled to Nashville, played out of there. Came back home my senior year in high school once I committed, done with all that. Played in Chattanooga for a man named Matt Yelton, who's actually brothers with my boss right now, Todd Yelton. After that, got recruited, played at Alabama, University of Alabama, played there for 4 years, 2009 through 2012. Had a great experience there. You know, obviously it's University of Alabama. Everybody likes to say Roll Tide. So it was fun. It was a good time. It was a program that was on the mend, to say the least. Todd Bramble had come there from Clemson. And so kind of, you know, during that time especially, Clemson was definitely known for women's soccer. So I had a great experience. We were his first recruiting class in 2009. I was actually his first recruit. So that was definitely, you know, heavy on my shoulders. So 2009-10, pretty rough year for us as a program in the sense of our expectations. And so definitely had the expectations of at least going to the SEC tournament every year, which, you know, if you're familiar with the SEC, that you should, at that time especially, we should have been going. So had a lot of talent. My junior year, 2011, we actually ended up going to the NCAA tournament with an at-large bid, which in program history, that was the second time. So pretty exciting for us. Peak of my career. And then senior year came, had to have ankle surgery after my junior season, reconstructive. So senior year, it just kind of, my body said no. So my mind said yes. My body was going with that mindset, and then got into conference play, and it just kind of plummeted. So left a lot on the table, and that's kind of what inspired me to get into coaching. I had a bad taste in my mouth in a sense with soccer. We were kind of fighting after that. So we took a break for about a year, me and soccer, and then Matt Yelton. I actually tore my ACL playing semi-pro back in Chattanooga, and Matt Yelton texted me and was checking on me because I was coaching club at the time for him. And he's like, you know, Joe, you would be a great coach, and I'm going to stop asking at some point. So come be my GA, or I'm going to stop asking. So I was like, you know what? Let's do it. So quit my job, had a very promising career in IT and sales and staffing, and then quit that, gave all that up to come coach, make some pennies.
Yeah, no, it sounds like your college career was very similar to mine. My coach took over my freshman year, and I was one of his 3 recruits that he brought in his first year. And the first 2 years were kind of bumpy, and then won a conference championship my junior year, and things were going really well my senior year, and then kind of fell apart with some injuries at the end too. So. Yeah,
it's tough. And I mean, it's like I said, having that feeling of leaving something on the table. And, you know, I remember so distinctly him coming over to me, and he, you know, like you have with any head coach and even the assistants, like there are just some expectations. And at that time you're, you know, 20, 21, 22 years old, and it's like, oh, I'm a hot shot. But I remember distinctly him coming over to me in preseason my senior year. And, you know, my junior year when I had that ankle surgery, it was like, Josie, should you get this surgery? You're at the peak. Like, you're playing the best soccer you've ever played. This surgery, you know, are you going to come back from it? So that to me was a challenge. You know, it was watch me, you know. So came back my preseason. So I had reconstructive ankle surgery, came back within 4 months, had preseason, was the fittest I'd ever been. And he pulled me aside and was like, Josie, you're the best player out here, you know? And to me, that was like, whoa, the world is stopping. So it was pretty cool. And so to go into my senior year and then conference, I mean, I don't know if you've ever had back problems, but would have I had 2 discs that were, my discs were degenerating. And so then they were just pinching all the nerves. And so I'd warm up and it's like, Joe, if you can start, you'll start. But if you can't finish the warm up, and I'd just be buckled over in tears. And it's like, can't do it today. So
Yeah,
it's a tough feeling.
Yeah, for sure. I can't imagine going through that at that age. You know, I had muscular problems in my back, but obviously nothing that serious. And my wife just went through back surgery, and seeing her basically have to learn how to walk again, I know that was extremely tough for sure.
It's humbling.
So you went back and you were working as your coach's GA. Where was that at?
So started out at Lee University. Matt Yelton was the head coach at the time. It's an NAIA. It was NAIA at the time. He won 4 back-to-back NAIA national championships. So pretty freaking impressive. And within my first week there, like I said, I had gone from, the business side of the world into coaching, which, was a pretty seamless little thing for me since, grew up playing soccer and loved it. But within the first week, on Friday, he asked me, how's it going? Are you enjoying it? What do you think? Are you happy you did this? And I was like, yeah, the school part, not really my thing, but I was like, coaching's great. And I said, it's amazing to see from this side and to experience and coach with somebody who cares so much about these players. And that to me is what really got me into the coaching side, is him. And that outlook and the way he interacted with them. It was their people first, their players second. And this is, Todd says it, my boss says it all the time, this is just a training ground for life. And that's exactly how Matt, his younger brother, approached it. And so to learn from him and that to be my first boss, my first mentor, was pretty incredible. I'm so thankful that it happened that way. So I was there for about probably 9 months. At that time, they were just coming off of, I think they had lost in the finals in PKs, I think, of the NAIA National Championship. So that would have been 5. So I came in the preseason, obviously, the following year, and they were trying to go D2. So as an athletic department. So this was the, what's it called?
Probationary?
Yeah, the probation year. Yeah. So this was their probation year. So we ended up doing the NCCAA. So it's the Christian colleges, right? So went to the finals down in Florida, won the national championship for NCCAA, which was fun. And then after, I think, probably a few months after, sometime during that spring, got the call to be the assistant at Wofford College. So Wofford's actually in the same conference we are as at Samford, in the Southern Conference. So Division I, mid-major, lots of private schools, very small, 1,800 at the time, only had undergrad. Jerry Richardson, the Panthers, that's where people usually know him or know Wofford from.
I've been there for preseason.
Yes, yeah. No, the day that I got to go to lunch with the Panthers and Luke Kuechly talked to me, it was a great day. So, yeah. One of the first days actually I was on campus. This is just a little side story. One of the first days I was on campus, I had stayed on campus for like a couple weeks while I was finding an apartment, and they had just started preseason camp, and one of like the top rookies, I can't remember his name now, but anyways, one of the top rookies, I was walking to work out at night, and I was walking back, and he's like, yo, who are you? And I was like, I'm Josie. Like, girl. I was like, yes, I am. He's like, you go here? No, I coach. He's like, you're not older than me. And I was like the same age as he was. I think I was 23 or 24 at the time. I think 24. Yeah. And he's like, wow, cool. Nice to meet you. It was cool to be around such high level and high profile players. But from there, spent, I think, 2 seasons there. And then went to Auburn, was a volunteer assistant at Auburn, and beyond grateful and thankful for my time there. with Karen Hoppe and James Armstrong and Ben Madsen. Sammy Town, Karen is just, I mean, she is at the forefront of female coaches, and can't thank her enough for what all she's done for coaches and women's soccer in general, but especially female coaches, because she's a great advocate. So was there for a season, went to the round of 32 with them, got beat by Samford, which, I mean, that team was incredible. They were warming up, and I just started laughing because they're just pinging 70-yard balls, you know, and like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, here we go. And then after that came to Samford that spring, and I've been here for about 2 years. I think March was my second year, going on year 3, so it's been great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Samford is a very, very good program as well. But you know, playing at Alabama and getting to coach at Auburn, I'm sure that those experiences are very, very different as opposed to working at Lee and working at Wofford and working at Samford. How was it going from playing in the SEC to being an assistant in the SEC?
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. We actually, that year, we got to play the Iron Bowl at Alabama. So it's crazy. And I mean, obviously it's a different coaching staff now, but a lot of the support staff was the same. So like my academic advisor, I mean, the moment I saw her, I was like, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I ran up to her and gave her a massive hug, and she really got me through. And then Sherry, who was the athletic trainer, she just retired. She was still there. You know, some of the physical therapists, the team doctor was the same. So like seeing all that was awesome. And then we went home with a trophy for Auburn. So that was pretty fun. But it was cool. And it was, you know, it's always, you go back and you think as an 18 to 21, 22-year-old, you're like, oh, I know everything, you know? And as coaches, sometimes we don't give them enough credit for what they do know and what they do recognize and see and pick up on. But at the same time, I remember being like, you know, I know everything. They don't put any, you know, they're just coming out here and this is their job. And some of the girls ask me, they're like, what do you do after practice? Well, I go into the office and work for 10 hours or whatever. And so, so being on the other side of it, it's cool because, you know, you put in all that hard work and you see it come to fruition. It's pretty cool, and to see it at your alma mater too. So.
Yeah, I know that was tough to go back and play against your old team, especially in a rivalry as intense as that one.
Yeah, sitting on the other bench was weird. Very weird.
So what are some of your roles there at Samford currently?
So our associate head coach, Jay Yelton, just left. He had been with Todd. Todd's been here 19 seasons. Jay had been there, I think, 15. And so Jay just left to take the head job at ETSU, East Tennessee State. So he's going back home. They're from Johnson City. So my role is kind of changing in a sense. Before, you know, I was the one doing, we don't have director of ops, so I was doing all the logistics off the field, you know, just basically all that stuff. And then on the field, you know, I really pride myself on technical ability and technical development, especially individual development. I think that that's someplace personal for me, because I think I could have done a way better job of seeking that out when I was in college. And then, you know, passing patterns, pattern of play, you know, that sort of stuff. I get about probably 30 minutes each training session. And then now, obviously, that's changing now that Jay's left and we hired another assistant. So before, you know, getting 20 to 25 minutes at the warm-up, stressing technical, ball control, dribbling, passing patterns, first touch, you know, all that sort of stuff. And then now being able to have a little bit more time, a little bit more freedom, still going with the technical aspect, going into, you know, the first phase of training and the first phase of play. So do that. And then I'm pretty much me and the strength coach, but I'm head of the sports performance for our team, in the sense of like all of our GPS data and stuff like that. Training loads, monitoring it, everything. And then, you know, just making sure that film is taken care of. It's pretty much split between me and Ben, our other assistant. So giving him a little bit more responsibility in that sense as we move forward now that he's gotten his feet wet. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. It seems like your head coach, he obviously has been there for a long time, but he seems very trusting of his assistants and very much allowing you guys to really be active participants.
Yeah, absolutely. And knowing, and he's really good friends with Karen Hoppe. And so knowing, obviously I'd worked for his brother as a GA. And so he's followed me he recruited me to Samford as a player too. So he's still pretty bitter about that, but he brings that up quite often. But yeah, so he's known me for a while, and that goes a long way for him in the sense of trust. I was on a Zoom call with some people the other day, and they said, "What do you look for in recruits?" And I said, the biggest thing, and we say it to the girls all the time, is number one thing is be a good person. And he says it to me and Ben, quite often too, is, you're a good person, so I trust you. You're a good person, so I respect you. And so it's just reaffirming that fact. And so with him, as I've been here now 2 years, my work ethic and everything, and kind of how I pretty much ran things. I mean, we cook breakfast for our girls. We do some crazy things for them, since it is a mid-major, and trying to make up some things that we have in the minus column, trying to push them over into the plus column, even if it makes a little bit more work for us. So yeah, he definitely rewards us in the sense of, giving us a little bit more freedom because of that kind of trust, so it's been great. It's been absolutely great.
So where do you guys kind of feel like you guys really fit into the grand scheme of things right now with the program currently?
In the sense of like our conference, or
conference, region, all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So most people aren't necessarily familiar with Samford, since we are a mid-major. Todd and Jay have built an incredible program there. Like I said, 19 seasons as head coach. He's had offers to leave multiple times and go be the head coach and take over a program in a Power 5 school. So the fact that he's still here is pretty lucky on Samford's part, and my part too. So but it's a special place, because not many places you get to have such a competitive and competitive program, but also a private school, and you kind of have the freedom. We don't have the budget, we don't have all these different things that Power 5s necessarily have. And so it's a good and a bad thing, right? I was watching your interview with Robbie Church, and just seeing, he was talking about, you could have asked me that years and years ago, and I would have had a 3-hour training session and all this. And I was thinking about that this spring. We got one spring game in, and our girls, it's such a cool thing, because I mean, you probably have experienced this. It's such a cool thing when your players take accountability for their own development, right? Like, you can say however many times you want, like, I'm here, you just come ask me, right? I'm here, I want to train, I want to do film, I want to do extra, you just come ask me. And so when it comes to the point where they're actually wanting to do it, and they take the initiative and they go out, hey, can I stay out, can we stay out extra after training and grab a bag of balls? So to have that on their own, I think, is so much sweeter for them and us, but for them, because I think it goes such a far way for them in their development. So, but sometimes at Power 5s, you get there whenever you get there the day before, even though it's Birmingham, Alabama, and you're coming from Knoxville, and it's a spring game. And it's like, man, I really wanted to stay and chill by the pool on Friday, but Saturday you got it, and so sometimes probably protecting them from that, but so that a day trip for us turns into a day and a half, 2-day trip for them. They have their strength coach traveling with them every trip. So they're going through, different things like mobility and, different sessions. And even if it's just 15 minutes is added on, and their academic advisor is traveling with them, and they're having, all these different meals where they're going to the restaurant, where we might provide pregame with them because we go out and get sandwich meat and make pasta and guacamole for them, so it just, a lot of times I think that, yes, those things are amazing, and I'm not saying that it's bad, because obviously, I did it. Yeah. But to have them turned on for that long, you can't expect them to then play a 3-hour game and have it turned on for 3 hours, start to finish. So, by the time you pull up to the stadium, so it's very different in the sense of mid-majors. But to answer your question, I think Todd has 15 championships or trophies right now. We just won back-to-back, or the double, so tournament and regular season, which was awesome. So there's definitely a level of excellence that's expected, but that starts on the front end in the sense of, like I said, being a good person and working hard are the two things that we're built by. And so I think we finished like 51 or 52 this year. Last year, I think we finished a little bit higher maybe. So obviously we want to finish top 50 every year, get to the NCAA tournament. I think he's had 5 NCAA tournament appearances throughout his 19 years. And so getting to play South Carolina in the first round was great, but being able to get to the second round and beat a Power 5 every year as an expectation is where we're at. So yeah,
that's a tough first round matchup for sure.
Yeah, it was a fun game. I mean, looking back, I think the coaching staff was more timid than the girls, and not to take anything away from South Carolina, because they were incredible. I mean, they were incredibly coached, an incredible performing team. Like they were fun to play, to put it that way, because it was a very solid matchup. Our girls are tough and they work super hard. It just, you give them an inch and they're going to take it and they're going to score. So, and that's exactly what happened. So, but not to fault our girls by any means, because they definitely had their nose in the fight. So,
going back to kind of what you were talking about with your team, kind of, being self-motivated to kind of do some of those extra things on their own, with us being Division III, that's one thing that I've kind of taken pride in, where we are pushing our program to going with us being so limited in the spring. Our team this year was finally pushing themselves to continue to get together and play futsal a couple times a week and take a bag of balls and go do some individual work. And we've got bow net goals, so they can go and set them up and kind of do some different things in different areas, because we play off campus and it's a little bit harder for us to get to our field. So I think that those are things that they show a mark of a program that's going to continue to get better.
Absolutely. And that's, I mean, that's the biggest thing to me is, I got into coaching mostly because, having that feeling of leaving something on the field, right? Leaving something on the table. But then also these girls and anybody, any young person, when they realize that they're capable of so much more and they take the accountability, it stays with them for the rest of their life, rather than us just pulling them across the finish line. It makes such a difference. And so when they actually take that accountability and go do it themselves, they take that risk, they have that freedom to make those mistakes in that training environment without the pressure. So then when they're going out and they're training with you as coaches, like they're not feeling that kind of pressure. They want to then try more and be creative because it's now working and they get that positive feedback from us. And then it's only going to, promote them to do even more. And then they pull their teammate out there, and so then it's just a cancer spreading in a good way.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And I try to, obviously with the Instagram culture being what it is, we've got all of our girls on our team Instagram where we can kind of check their stories and see that stuff. And I try as much as possible as a coach, when I see them putting up that they're working out and getting touches and that kind of stuff, I try to at least shoot them a little text and say, hey, I saw you out working today. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, for sure. It goes, that little stuff, it goes a long way with them.
For sure. It's something that I wish I had done more of as a player.
Yes, 100%. Like I said earlier, like individual development, going out and doing more. And I just remember being so tired all the time as a college student. Yeah. And that's one thing that I do think we do a really good job of is with our sports performance. Like our training sessions are never going to go 2 hours. They're never even going to go really an hour and 45. If it goes an hour and 30, it's because we're going and doing, a little bit extra set piece work or whatever, or warm up went a little bit longer, whatever it is. But, you know, we get them in and out, and it's quality over quantity. And then it leaves them time to do what they want. But it's never to the point of overtraining and then you don't want to go back out, right? Because I think we'd all agree, you want that quality, and then you leave a little bit of room, and then they can come back out after a couple hours after class, and then you're doing exactly what you want them to do again, and now it's just a little bit smaller of a group. Yeah. So I think that even just, you know, from a sports science side, it goes a lot further than, you know, keeping them out there 2-3 hours long.
Other than you know, you said you guys are using GPS. Are you guys using Fit for 90 or Soccer Pulse or any of the other software as well?
We did Fit for 90. I think right when I had gotten here, they had started to phase it out. We got a new athletic trainer. And so she's been amazing in the sense of, you know, the three of us working together, the athletic trainer, strength coach, and myself. And so we don't really use any of that now. We use a different GPS and heart rate system, you know, the wearable, and then they have watches and stuff like that. So in that sense, it's great because the three of us can all see the data. And then we obviously use, we used to use Instat for our conference. And so to be able to see, you know, and compare some of the different metrics has been great, because it's like, you know, we do RPE and everything. And so if they're saying it was, you know, a 10 out of 10 and it was super hard, but then, you know, they only played 20 minutes and their heart rate wasn't that high, their metrics weren't that high, well, what's the disconnect? Yeah. Or vice versa, you know? So, so yeah, it's been really rewarding, I think, for the student athletes, because it does preserve their mindset as well as, you know, their bodies too. So.
Yeah, I think that we're a smaller school where I'm at now. So we've got some kind of budgetary constraints. So we used Soccer Pulse this past year for the first year, and you know, we have a smaller roster, and we ask a lot of our team as far as what we try to do physically, and we try to play, and it was good for me as a coach, because then I had something tangible where, you know, between myself and our assistant coaches and our trainer, we could actually sit down and say, okay, you know, we played last night and player A played 90 minutes, you know, we play again in 2 days, she doesn't need to train today, so let's just have her do some recovery stuff, and we kind of start to tailor things a little bit more to some of the different pockets that we kind of have within the team in different levels.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just even starting that thought process is a great place. You know what I mean? Because so many times, and this is our biggest, I guess, advocate for, you know, all the GPS data and stuff like that, is how many times have you coached somebody, or you yourself have been coached, and they're screaming at you to run faster, or run harder, or run, you know, X, whatever, and you have nothing left. I mean, the towel's dry. There's nothing else to wring out. And or on the opposite side, you know, you could have kept them in for 90 minutes, but you pulled them out and gave them a break, you know, and now you can't let them come back in because of reentries. And so I think that, you know, it gives you such a live time for us. It gives you such that live time feed of, you know, hey, bring her. I remember specifically in our final game in the SoCon finals this past season, you know, we had one girl who emptied the tank. I mean, this girl is fast as lightning, but she's a small kid. So you empty the tank, it's going to take a minute for her to, you know, refuel. So she emptied the tank the first half. She starts second half. Well, she needs to come out. We pull her out. And so had we kept her out just a few minutes longer, I think we would have gotten, you know, we could have put her back in for probably 10 minutes, but we put her back in and she was immediately gassed. And so to have that sort of, and to be able to go back and actually reflect on that, right? Because you can have all the data in the world, but if you're not willing to accept the information, then that's an issue. And so that's where I think our head coach is pretty amazing about it, because it's like, hey, where is she? You know, and if I say, hey, so-and-so might need a break soon, it's all right, give me the solution. All right, well, this is who can come, you know? And so kind of having that revolving door, but like you said, it's Friday, Sunday, and you've you only have what you have. So you've got to work within that. You can't just burn them all out. So
we're a little luckier than you guys. We play Wednesday, Saturday.
oh, nice. Yeah. We're hopefully, getting a few more. Our out of conference season, we like to go Thursday, Sunday, Friday.
Yeah.
So, but who knows how that'll look this year. So
yeah. I mean, I had a conversation with my AD yesterday, and we were talking through some of the different proposals on the table, and just, as long as you get me on the field sometime within the next 3 months, I think that I'll make it where my wife
absolutely
house.
for sure.
Yeah. So, you said that you guys used to use Instat. Are you using any other kind of data measurement stuff as far as like the possession play and passes and things like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all up in the air right now, like everything, right? So we were using Instat, and it was great. We used it more for the measurements than the actual breakdown. We'd like to break it down ourselves, and but as of right now, it's just going back and forth between if we still use it for the conference video exchange service or not, or what we do, because I think every university right now is kind of hemorrhaging money and preparing to. So I think that's going to massively affect all of women's soccer budgets and just NCAA budget, because NCAA basketball, it didn't happen. And so that's a massive hit for a lot of us. So.
Yeah. And if football is not able to happen as well, that's going to be an even bigger one.
Right. So.
It's a scary time to be a college coach. Even I coach club as well, and some of the things that are still up in the air right now as far as trying to finish out spring seasons and get tryouts in from the fall. It's a difficult time for sure.
Yeah, we're very fortunate right now. So just fingers crossed it'll all go away and people do what they're supposed to, and we can get back out on the field. I cannot imagine being a player right now and not being able to play.
Yeah. I have my stepdaughter is a high school senior, and I'm strapping her up the wall.
That's horrible. That's so sad.
Yeah.
So sad.
What's a piece of advice that you have for young coaches?
Ooh, get out there and coach. I remember one summer I did 14 camps because I needed to make money right before Auburn as a volunteer assistant, and being able to get around that many players and that many coaches and that many different environments was pretty incredible. I was delirious, to say the least. I mean, there are stories about it, but but also go ahead and go with your gut, right? Because I mean, I was literally laid up on my couch recovering from my ACL that day, and remember texting him and being like, yeah, let's do it. I'm going to get into coaching. And so go with your gut. But every move I've made has been preparing me for what's next. And so being at Lee prepared me to be at Wofford. Being at Wofford prepared me to be at Auburn. Auburn prepared me to be at Samford. And so taking each of those steps, it doesn't mean that you have to, my goal has changed. Everybody asks all the time, what's your 5-year goal? What's, by the time you're 30, where do you want to be? And it's constantly changing because, life is always changing, and the generations are changing. And so being at a mid-major has been amazing. And had you asked me when I first started out, I would have said, well, to coach at a Power 5. And it's not to say that isn't still my goal, but I think things have just kind of been rearranging through all of it. And, I think it's more of 2-year goals right now.
Yep.
And so not to get defeated if you're not there by the time you're 30, not to get defeated if you're not a Power 5 assistant, because it's, so shiny on the outside, but those hours they put in because, their budgets are higher, their salaries are higher. Like, it's a tough life. It's not for everybody. And, it's not always just about winning on the field. My favorite memories come from the training ground, and, some of those off the field experiences with the girls, those go a lot further for me than those victories or losses. So
I can definitely relate to the, if you'd have told me as a 22-year-old D2 assistant that I was going to be at the school that I am at now and be absolutely loving life.
Yeah.
I probably told you you're full of it.
Right.
But you know, it's where you're comfortable and where you feel like you can make the most difference, really, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think your willingness to work, you know, like one of those schools in there, I won't say which one, but obviously I wasn't making any money as a volunteer, but another school I was an assistant at, and I made very, very little. And so, you know, I stressed about money, and not to say, you know, full disclosure, like not to say that I didn't, but I made it work, and it was my willingness to work. And, you know, the things I went through as a college soccer player and just a youth player, even in my competitive mentality, it helped me, you know, no, I'm not accepting failure. Like, I'm going to make more money because this is exactly what I want to do and what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, I think it's these kids, they go through such a hard time as a student athlete. And I think people, you know, we don't give them the credit sometimes that they deserve because, you know, they're going through a lot. And so to have somebody who's been there and, you know, who's gone through it is great, but also who's going through it. You know, you're going through it too, because college soccer, especially women's soccer, doesn't pay great and all over the place. And so that's just the nature of it, but you're not in it for that. You know, if it was all about the money, then we'd all be doing something else. So I think that, you know, they see that, they definitely see that, and it pays off in the end.
Yeah, I try to be extremely mindful of the financial piece with my assistants. You know, I'm extremely lucky. I've got a younger assistant who has some junior college head coaching experience. She just came to work with us this spring, and I know that the financial piece is extremely difficult for her. So she's doing 3 club teams and us and all these things, and just makes me think back to being that young and like that. Those were such hard days, but they were such fun days as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's what you build on. And I'm not saying, you know, that I'm not out of them. It just I do a lot for the program in the sense of like wearing a lot of different hats, and that's in my opinion, like you know, you put in that time, and then as you get older, you get to take a hat off and put a different one on, or take 2 off and put 1 on. So, but you know, that's the time that you grow, and that, you know, each and every place has helped me, you know, kind of hone my coaching philosophy. Because if I had stayed at one place, if I had just stayed at Lee with Matt, then I would have only been, you know, on the coaching philosophy of what Matt Yelton thought. Whereas now I've had, you know, 4 different programs influence me, and my own different influences of, you know, going to coach 14 different camps. So taking those opportunities and not being scared, I guess, having the confidence to do it. So.
Yeah, for sure. You got to put yourself out there if you want to get it out of it. Well, Josie, we really appreciate you taking some time to sit down with us today. You know, hopefully we're able to get back out on the field soon, and look forward to seeing what you guys are able to continue doing there at Samford.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Can't wait to follow you guys, and I'm sure I'll see you recruiting out soon.
Sounds good. We'll talk soon.
All right, thanks. See ya.